Hey, it's Brain Muffin back in Nerd Corner. Here we have World of Warcraft. Blah, blah. World of Warcraft. Classic is brutal and boring, but I love it anyway. Here's an article from PC Gamer. So this is one of the things coming out from Blizz is people wanting to play the old game. I never played Warcraft back in the original days. I did start like a month or so before Kata, so I got kind of glimpses of the way it used to be, but not fully, because that was already had 2 expansion packs, so that was in the middle of the Wrath of the Lich King. But I know there was Nostralius and there were some other servers that were playing a version of the old game, and then they got shut down by Blizz, and now they're saying, hey, we have it coming out for everybody. It might not live up to your nostalgia, but there's still a lot to like about Classic. I can vividly remember that day in 2004 when I built myself a new computer after months of saving, just so I could play World of Warcraft. And I had awaited all damn evening for its install, swapping out CDs the moment the prompt appeared. But it took too long. I had only about half an hour to play, and I wandered the frigid tundra of Dunmorgul as a dwarf hunter I named Durian. I don't know if it was fruit at the time. I didn't know it was a fruit at the time. Okay, before my mom forced me to bed. Despite my best attempts to ruin it, this was still a defining moment for me. With those short minutes, I glimpsed a virtual world, anything I could imagine. World of Warcraft Classic didn't give me that same magical feeling. From the 60 minutes I played, the one thing I definitely say I was pretty bored. When I first spawned into Westfall, it was overwhelming having to remember exotic concepts patched out eons ago. Auto-attacking, skill trees, having to actually read quest text, to know where to go and all that kind of stuff. This is World of Warcraft almost exactly as existed back in the day before a decade of quality of life updates slowly transformed it into World of Warcraft in modern times. Yeah, and the modern game is in some ways very boring. I mean, and it's grindy, but it's nowhere near as grindy as it used to be. So, and I remember some of this stuff as a hunter pre-Kata. You know, with even in Kata, I had to feed my pet. I had to attend to it, or I can't remember if it would die or it would just stop paying attention. And eventually, I had a glyph. Obviously, this is Kata that attacking every critical strike my pet did gave it happiness. So when my pet especially I was in an area with NPCs that were lower, and I would just say, just go attack them and you'll it'll be happier. It was hilarious. I miss that kind of stuff. I don't miss. I never ran out of arrows. I was just we had. Whatever it was called. But anyway, the world almost exactly as existed back then. I just read that. Classic most certainly is not a portal that leads back to a time when killing 15 boars felt exciting. Just like all those times I dusted off old game discs and installed them hoping for that wonderful hit of nostalgia. Classic didn't deliver, but that doesn't mean I don't like it. In fact, I feel the opposite. Yeah, that is true. Sometimes the nostalgia buzz is far greater in your mind than it actually is. I know that, there's sometimes I do that with some games too, old games I have. I trip down read-only memory lane. That's funny. World of Warcraft Classic is a stubbornly authentic recreation that will likely turn away many players once the retro MMO novelty wore off. And having to remember to do things. And where was I? I remember a cruel game WoW used to be. In Westfall, my dwarf hunter accepted a quest to kill defiant bandits that were holed up in a nearby village of Moonbrook. I used to be able to fighting up to a dozen enemies at once, elegantly smashing a sequence of hotkey abilities to easily dispatch them. But in Classic, pulling even just 2 enemies was a fatal error. That's one of the things that people that I know that played Classic, that they had to be far more careful. And you would aggro stuff, and it was just horrible. Repeated again. Each death requiring a painful long run from the graveyard to my corpse. I will say this: they used to have speed runs backs, and now they don't anymore. So depending on sometimes where you die, it's like horrible. Although some places you can fly back, so that's not so bad. It was frustrating. That's what I love, but that's what I love the most about World of Warcraft Classic. Though the graphics and interface look similar to the modern version, there's also a mountain of nuances that make them feel distinctly different games. Battle of Azeroth finely tunes WoW's reward loop so that even players with 20 minutes can accomplish something meaningful. In Classic, by contrast, I spent 20 minutes just trying to find some dude's wife for a quest that offered an almost insulting number of experience points, and that's just the tip of the Classic iceberg. Yeah, that's the thing. It took a long time to reach 40. Each Classic comes equipped with a wealth of skills that are cool on paper but aren't very necessary. Like hunters being able to temporarily see through the eyes of the pet, which we still do, which I never use. Combat feels significantly slower, and there's just not a lot to do outside of quests that ask you to kill a dozen or so of the same monster. During my second tour of the 60-minute demo, I started an undead rogue and took on a quest to gather mushrooms from a nearby oasis guarded by centaurs. This actually looks very familiar to me. I remember this area when I was first leveling, and it was horrible. Even two patches later, 2 releases later, because that old content didn't get a whole lot of change. These aggressive monsters were scattered so densely around the oasis that it was hard not to draw the ire of 2 or more of them at a time, and that tension was captivating. I had to carefully consider each step I took into the shade of the exotic trees that circled the waters. This area's been all messed up post, I guess, Kata, or some kind of rendering, I forget. Well, the combat might be a lot slower, and that's where there's a great emphasis on the moment-to-moment struggle between me and an opponent. I don't feel like a god slaying badass when my abilities frequently miss and are blocked outright. I don't feel like a hero when all it takes is 2 raptors to pull me apart like a wet napkin. and compared to the years I've spent being Azeroth's champion, that contrast is satisfying. All these ugly, sharp edges ooze flavor and personality you just don't see as often in modern MMOs. Classic is eccentric and weird, and it doesn't give a damn how many abilities you have on your action bar or how balanced they might be. MMOs in the early 2000s could be weird and happened before everyone else in the genre started following Warcraft's example. I especially love how those idiosyncrasies help create a sense of immersion. Any WoW player can wax on about how flying mounts and easy travel options kill the sense of scale of Azeroth, but those are just symptoms of a bigger shift in design. World of Warcraft used to be a slow game, one that skirted boredom constantly. But that uncompromising pace left you with no other choice but to find some way to appreciate the little things, like saying hello to a stranger you pass on the road. The joy of old school WoW wasn't how much you could accomplish in one evening, but just the fact that you were there. And that's a lot of the newness of it too, right? There was a high novelty when it came out. And so you're going to get that the first time around. When Blizzard first announced Classic, I was ho-hum about it, but I'm beginning to see the appeal. The demo helped me realize there was nothing inherently wrong with how World of Warcraft used to play, but Blizzard just patched it anyway because that's what they do with an MMO. That ceaseless need to innovate and irritate has birthed a World of Warcraft that is today a fundamentally different game, all about rewarding players no matter no matter how much time they have to play in a given week. Yeah, the casuals, it really, and I'm a semi-casual player, I guess, these days. Classic, by contrast, relish in the slow burn of journey that can take months. There's 2 very different games and 2 very different visions, and I like both of them. If you fell out of love with Azeroth at some point, I'm not sure World of Warcraft Classic will rekindle those feelings. This is not some magical artifact that can breathe life into my fading nostalgia for those wonderful adolescent internet years. I now realize it was silly to ever expect it to, but World of Warcraft Classic does make a strong argument that what that new isn't always better, and that even if something is ugly and janky, it can still have its charms too. And it would help if I read. So, comments. Oh, we have comments. Oh, very nice. I don't know what OS RuneScape is. I played the Classic demo and I came to the conclusion where I could jump back into retail during the 30-minute wait. Classic WoW is an amazing RPG, but it is an awful video game. Yeah, okay. While modern WoW is a great video game, but an awful RPG. Yeah, so that I can understand that sentiment. Because the new one, you can just kind of hop in and out, and you do some role playing, but But I use Zygor a lot, so 2/3 of the time I don't even read the quest. It's just, okay, go here, kill pressure, and that's part of the problem, because I can't tell you who's what and why or anything about the lore. And I know people that read every quest and have read all the books and all that kind of stuff. I think the player enjoy both. Will find something in both of them, but those looking for an experience sense of accomplishment you won't find it in classic, and those looking to be truly immersed won't really find it in retail. So it's kind of a pick your poison. And okay, revival. I guess this guy doesn't like it. WoW Classic is an exercise in futility and a good example that you shouldn't listen to a rabid fan base that doesn't know what it wants. Okay. That's why all those Nostralis had, I think, over 1 million subscribers on it, or maybe 3 million, and I 3 million total accounts and 1 million were active. I don't know. It was incredible when it got shut down. I wasn't interested in okay. World of Warcraft is brutal and boring, but I love it. How this reads to me is that you will have two crowds: folks who will try it out and then get bored, and two, the elite vanilla crowd that will act like hipsters over it. Yep, I think you're right there, Sam. I'm gonna give that a thumbs up if I can. Yep, or an upvote. So basically, you hated it. You're trying to no, that's not what he said. Liquid Groove. Did you read the whole article? Classic skirted what? No, it really didn't. He said he played it in 2004, right in the first paragraph. Because this article is rubbish, and I call it fake news. Well, you can do whatever you want. The whole review, I was wondering if the author had personality disorder, but then it hit me. He's just used to retail WoW. Also, there's no point in comparing both versions. You can say it's different and stop there. You are not even, well, kind of what they said in the article. Rewards you for logging in, while Classic rewards you time invested. Yeah, sort of, but you still have to invest a lot of time in WoW. And some of the newer things, the newer patches, leveling alts has become a bigger chore than it was for several expansions. So anyway, but there we go. That's enough for WoW. But that's interesting. I kind of sort of want to try it, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure I want to. I mean, I don't have a lot of time to play as it is. And I think in the last, maybe ever since we can use in-game gold, and I've been using the AH to pay for my subscription. I think I paid for 1 or 2 months for the last 3 years, and that's been it. But even that, it's becoming like, I don't really know if I want to play. And, it's like, it's okay. I'm going through the content of the latest patch, and it's like, it's okay, and it's not okay at the same time. So anyway, well, what do you think? Are you going to play Classic WoW? You think it's silly? You think it's the nostalgia train is just passed through the station? Or you think this is a trend and we'll see some re-rolls of other classic games? Let me know. Bye.